Hello, everyone, and happy Saturday. Nick Marro here with Smitty today for the first time we're paired up this season. Great to have you on, man. But as always, we're here to break down the NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Has been the trend this season that FanDuel's including the late games, DK is not. It's such a big slate that we're probably going to go more so position by position. But yeah, man, what's your kind of initial take on this slate? Obviously, some value, not a ton of it though, but how you feeling going in here?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good slate. There's not a ton of cheap value, but there is some good mid-range value, I think, that we could take advantage of on this slate.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So yeah, I think the best way to kind of go about this is we'll talk through kind of the major pieces of injury news on smaller slates. I like to go game by game, but to do that with 11 games, we'd probably be here all night. So let's not do that. But yeah, first let's take a look here. So Memphis, they're very thin. I'll pull them up here. The other night they were even thinner. We pulled a lot of value from here. Um, so no Desmond Bain, that's a big one. Luke Kennard's been out for the whole year. Conchar's still out. No Marcus Smart. No Vince Williams either. So a lot of the regular starters and rotational pieces aren't available or in the lineup. The other weird thing with Memphis too is it's like they're kind of slowly ramping up Jaws minutes. I don't know if you've heard any coach speak on this, but it seems he's capped around 30, and I feel like I can say the same thing for Jaren Jackson here. But with this team kind of being shorthanded, I think there's a lot to like. And unlike the other day, they all seem to be much lower owned than they were. I mean, part of that's just the prices have come up. But for me, I think I really like Laravia once again. His price is up, but even if he comes off the bench, he's just been super involved. And then Santi Aldama with that power forward eligibility looks good here. Obviously, no Embiid. Going to be taking on Drummond in that front court. They're probably going to need some of that size. But yeah, where are you getting with Memphis right now? Because there's value here more so than a lot of other teams, but at the same time, it's like you said, kind of mid range.
Yeah, it's mid-range value, but I think it's pretty solid value. You know they're going to get the minutes. I mean, they're short on bodies. You mentioned Laravia, I like him. I was high on Aldama last time out, and I'm willing to go right back there. He has such a good floor, and he also has a ceiling too, because he's the kind of guy that could go for a double-double, add in some assists. So overall, I think them two are solid. Jaw is a good GPP play, but that's pretty much it for me. We have him with 30 minutes, and I tend to agree. He's probably not going to get a whole lot more than that. And then Wells is rating out really good on DK value. His price came up. He's just a little under 5K, but at 4% ownership on both sides, I think he's still a pretty good GPP play.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I was wrong. I thought they'd start Laravia over Wells the other night. It was Wells. So shouts out to the few of you and Chad who I kind of saw that coming. I missed that. But at the same time, I mean, Wells didn't have a great game, but the model still loves him once again. But the difference today is like none of these guys are that popular. So you're really not getting this huge leverage point by going to Wells over someone like Laravia or Aldama. But yeah, let's shout out Chad here. We got Courtney as usual. Happy Saturday for sure. Eli here, another great regular that we have. A decision to make between two players on DK, Barrett or Sochan. That's tricky. I mean, I think Sochan may be the higher floor, but right now RJ is probably the pick with Quickly and Barnes out, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's tough just because Barrett is on the back end of a back to back, and he left the game yesterday hurt. So it does kind of worry me about his minutes upside, but I still think you have to go RJ.
Yeah, large field certainly, and honestly, I mean, at the price, I think RJ point per dollar is tough to get away from. Love Sochan though, don't get me wrong. We this game's not on the slate, but for Justin E, Celtics captain mode. I didn't really look at this game, but where are you at on this question? Pritchard and Diabat or Williams and Salaloon? And I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Let's
From
see.
Charlotte.
I would say probably Pritchard.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Grant Williams is such a low floor. I'd rather get the Pritchard, and I don't know that Diabet does a ton, but at the same time, I'd rather just get those Pritchard points. And then Courtney, what makes a player have a safe floor? So minutes, first of all, you need a guy to play minutes, but obviously there's guys like Matisse Thybulle, Batum at times. I mean, we used to have Tony Snell. We'd always laugh about. There's some guys that play minutes that don't do anything. So you want a guy who can not only score but also pass, rebound, do other things. So even if their shot's not falling, they're on the floor. They're doing a bunch of different stuff. So consistency is key. So yeah, it's more floor coming from different areas. I mean, obviously a player could get hurt, but you're not really factoring that in with floor. But anything you'd add to that? I know I'm just kind of rushing through that answer.
No, I think that's pretty good. One thing I'll say is most of the time, like centers or point guards are going to have the higher floors, but that's kind of just positional.
Yeah, they tend to see the higher usage, which obviously helps to boost that. Shouts out Josh and Justin, just some nice pleasantries there. And then Power here saying Keon Ellis is a lock. So I don't know. I mean, we can talk about Philly, but again, I don't want to go game by game. So maybe let's jump into Sacramento here because they are another team with major injury news. I'm just going to click over to the injury report here. Keon Ellis is popping as one of the better value plays on both sites. He's also super popular though. Scrolling, just trying to find their injury report. But I know off the top of my head, Herter's out. Obviously, that's a big one there. I mean, that's really it. But Herter is a guy who tends to play 30 plus minutes. Ellis is already in the rotation, probably going to slide in and start because they do like bringing Malik Monk off the bench. But what's your take on Ellis, man? I know we talked about this a little bit before we went live. I mean, for me right now, unless we get more value, he's kind of tough to get away from.
Yeah, I agree. He's the cheap value on this slate. He's going to play probably, we have him for 27. I tend to agree with that. He's going to start. He might close. It just depends. They might close with Monk, but he plays good defense. That's part of the reason he even starts. They just want his defense in that unit. So I think he's a pretty solid play.
Yeah, it tends to agree, man. And I know I have like PTSD from Kings backup guards, but a lot of that's from Davion Mitchell. Ellis is a little bit better of a scorer. I know Mitchell's been playing well though, so I don't want to crap on him too much. But when he was with the Kings, I mean, there were so many games where Fox was out where that would just burn us. But yeah, if we're sorting by value, we see Ellis here. And again, FanDuel has a few extra games, so these plays from Utah and Denver aren't even on the DK slate. Ellis is still top 5 for value on FanDuel, then over on DK right there at the top because again you can't play Westbrook there. But we'll talk about Denver in a little bit. Um, Josh has a pretty good question here. Would you play Ellis with Monk?
Yeah, I personally would. I think they're both cheap enough, and you would want Monk to close in that situation and hope that Ellis already got there. But I think they
Mm-hmm.
could both get there, especially in this matchup against Toronto. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, definitely. I tend to agree. And I mean, when Fox is off the floor, we'll probably have Monk on the floor. I think they're going to share minutes, Ellis and Monk, plenty. Um, But yeah, I mean, the rest of the Kings starters look fine. With DeRozan coming in, definitely takes up more usage than Harrison Barnes did on the wing there last year. But we're seeing these guys still kind of push value, relatively consistency. This is not the Toronto team that it had been in years past. Their defense is pretty terrible. So really good matchup here for the Kings. So I don't think you can go wrong. But just keep an eye on the ownership because they're all pretty popular. Any bullish takes on the Kings here?
My favorite play from the Kings is Sabonis, just because Toronto's been killed at the rim, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. And we can use that to transition over to Toronto now because they're another team with major injury repercussions on the slate. Um, just again, pulling up the injury report. Still no Scotty Barnes. Bruce Brown's been out for the entire season so far. Quickly's listed as doubtful, but it's been said he's not playing. Still no Kelly Olynyk either. Super thin in the front court, which is why Jakob Poeltl's popping is one of the most popular center plays on the board here. He looks pretty damn good to me. RJ Barrett, this is a back to back. And like you said, he did get hurt in the game. It seems like he's fine. But yeah, maybe proceed with some caution now that he's pushing 60% on DK. I still think he's one of the better plays at forward. And again, with no Quickly and Barnes, who are kind of the two top usage plays for this team, we're seeing a lot left to go around. So for me, I love Barrett. Tougher for me to get to Podol on FanDuel. I'm super heavy on Joker over there, but we'll talk about Denver in a little bit. And then funnily enough, I mean, Davion Mitchell actually popping is okay value. He's been better, though, since he's been with Toronto. And then I guess we got to keep an eye on Mogbo if he starts. He's been okay. Again, we're just kind of scraping here. I've been off the Grady Dick train. And yeah, it's mostly worked out. He's had a couple okay games. But generally kind of a scoring dependent player. I think they're trying to get him to facilitate a little bit more. But yeah, what's kind of your overall takes on Toronto here? I'm sure you're on Barrett and Podol, but I guess what about the rest of these guys?
Yeah, I'm kind of with everything you just said. I'm not really on Dick, especially at the 22% on DraftKings. Just scoring dependent. He's a shooter. On shooters on back to back, I tend to be a little hesitant just because of their tired legs. But Mitchell, I do actually think he's a pretty decent play when we don't have a ton of value. He's been better. He's been shooting better. And then
Yeah.
you mentioned Mogbo. I do like going there, specifically if he starts. If he's just a random starter, I like throwing him in, especially on DraftKings where he's 4,200.
Yeah, man. And again, we're just kind of scraping for value for such a big slate. There's not a ton. But yeah, looking at a couple questions here, we got Courtney asking if Westbrook's good for 100. Man, obviously you're on FanDuel. We're not going to jump to Denver quite yet, but I'll just say yes. I mean, he's one of the best value plays on the slate with Murray out. I know he's burnt us before, but he's looked okay there. And then no Levert for Cleveland tonight, so I guess we'll use this as an opportunity to transition over to Cleveland. But do you have a take here? Non, Niang, or Lyles? And my first gut says none of them, but I don't know. Any of those names kind of popping out to you?
um, I would prefer none of them, really. But
Yeah, Cleveland's tricky. So no Levert tonight. He's been playing really good basketball, actually, but no Struce either. So there are some minutes to be had on the wing. For me, it's kind of just getting me onto the starters more. I really like Mobley here. Obviously, Milwaukee's good defensively in the front court. He's just too cheap, in my opinion. And I'm a little bit surprised he's not more popular, only 11% on DK. 4 on FanDuel at 7,900. Garland's been playing really well. I don't know. I see Dean Wade is popping as kind of the value play. So to answer the question, I guess it's Dean Wade. Running out of breath talking about him. Maybe that's a sign. But yeah, I mean, the other starters I think just benefit a little bit more. And I will say Ty Jerome's actually had some decent games. So if you're playing 150 lineups, you don't want to go 100% Keon Ellis. Maybe you could use Jerome in like 5 or 10% as a way to get a little bit different. But Smitty, man, what are your takes on Cleveland here? Obviously, Milwaukee supposed to be this good defensive team, but they've kind of been shaky to start the season.
yeah, I agree. I like targeting Milwaukee with guards, so I think Garland and Mitchell would be well, I say Garland and Mitchell, but with price considered, it'd probably be Garland and Mobley for me are my two favorites from this game. And I don't hate going to Jared Allen and GPPs. And then you mentioned Ty Jerome. I don't hate going there as a pivot to Keon Ellis. There's not a whole lot of other pivots that make sense, and maybe he sees an increased role.
Yeah, I'm with that, man. And I don't know, has Okoro not been playing minutes? Because I know in the past he's someone I'd usually get to.
Yeah, it's been weird. I think he's been around 20 minutes every game or slightly under that.
Yeah, I'm pulling up his game logs here now just to take a quick look. He's been doing absolutely nothing, playing about 20 per game. Usually he's a guy who kind of facilitates, also shoots the ball a lot, but he's been so bad. I don't know. If you're playing 150, maybe like 1%. And then the other guy, I guess, is worth bringing up. We're actually projecting him for more minutes than Jerome is Sam Merrill. This guy is as scoring dependent as anyone in the league. But yeah, he can get hot from 3. We've seen it at times. So I guess just another pivot you can't feel great about. But again, on a slate, we're kind of lacking value. Looking to get a little different. I don't think it's insane. You're probably going to get 24 minutes or so out of him tonight. But yeah, can't say I'm excited to play either. What else do we got here as far as news goes? We talked about Toronto already. We talked about the Cavs, Memphis. Boston's not on the slate. That game's getting started any minute now. Yeah, I think that's it for like major injury news. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's it. I know Bill's expected to play, and Aaron Gordon is probable. So
okay. So yeah, I'll use your shout to Aaron Gordon there to jump over to Denver. And again, this game's only on the FanDuel slate. So if you're using the model, you're looking at the data. Why are all these guys 0% on DK? It's because the late games aren't available over there. But you and I play heavy FanDuel, and I know we got some folks in here who do as well. And if you're on DK, you can play the late slates to get to these guys. But 80% Russell Westbrook on FanDuel tonight. It's tough to get away from, man, if we're being honest. Obviously, he's burnt us at times. But again, we talk about floor. Westy is a guy who gets assists, he gets rebounds. Utah defensively isn't that great, especially in the backcourt. So totally fine getting to him as chalk. Probably going to lock him in. I mean, it feels gross, but I don't know how you don't, right?
yeah, locking Westy in 2024, man. No, I think I agree with that. I mean, he's just a guy that does a little bit of everything. He might have 20 turnovers, but he could literally go out there and have a triple double, especially against Utah. So I kind of think we have him for 29 minutes. I think he has upside for even more than that. So I think he's a really good play.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I also want to shout out Joker. I mean, I'm going to sort by OF index. I imagine he's up there. Um, but yeah, he's obviously at the top. But 34%, there were big stretches of time the past 2 seasons where Murray was out. Those were when we were getting those huge Jokic games. When Jokic won MVP, it was a season where Murray was out a lot of the time. And I know Westbrook's coming in, but he's really not the same player that Murray is in terms of shots. I like Jokic the best when Murray's out. That's always been a thing. And against Utah, I absolutely love him here. I know it's a back-to-back. He doesn't look as good as he usually does, but again, I think we maybe finally get one of these huge ceiling games out of him here with Murray out. Not a hot take to be on Nikola Jokic, but he's probably going to make up most of my center exposure here. I imagine I push 50%.
Yeah, I agree with Jokic too. It's just he's going to be asked to facilitate a lot more stuff that Murray does that Westbrook can't do. Now Jokic has to pick up that slack, so I think his usage will be insane.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Let's check out chat, and then we can kind of go position by position. Josh T, I'm not going to pull them all up on the screen, guys, but I'll read through them. So just bear with me here. Getting a ton of Garland, love it. Brooks or Ellis? I imagine you're asking Dylan Brooks. Has to be Keon Ellis for me. I think most of us are Brooks haters here at Occupy. I
Yeah.
don't know how you feel about him, Smitty.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, if you want to look for value from Houston, I'd go back to Tari Eason, even though he's only playing 20 minutes. It's a different position. Still play Keon Ellis, though. It's not really a pivot. But yeah, even in large UPP, I look to just get different with other spots. Thoughts on a 3-3 tour in Sacramento stack? I personally like it a lot. Toronto's been playing super fast, I think. Let me just see what the total is here. But yeah, first instinct is yes. Where are you at on that? Sacramento, Toronto, probably one of the best games to
Yeah,
stack.
I like that. One of the highest totals on the slate, almost 230.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about we're looking for injuries that create opportunities, and obviously with Herter out, and then the Toronto Raptors being really thin, we're getting a lot of that on both sides of this one. So there's a lot of correlation there. Really like that game a lot. Um, but yeah, I guess let's start to try to go position by position. With it being the two different slates and FanDuel having the extra games, it gets a little bit confusing. But I'll just select point guard, shooting guard on both sites. We got the two main circled here. Sorting by OF index, looking at the top, we got Ja. Obviously, we're a little bit concerned about the minutes. FanDuel only, SGA completely unowned. We talked about Fox a little bit. Lillard against Cleveland, Booker, Harden. I know on FanDuel, I want to get to some Harden. But yeah, I mean, he's getting up there in price. I really like Maxi again on both sides. Again, this guy's playing 40 minutes a game. I think I forget if it was Chuck or Jay. Someone was saying, might have been you actually, that he has as many touches as anyone in basketball right now. Ridiculous usage with Embiid and Paul George out. Going to keep going back to the well with him. Edwards kind of turned it on late to win that game for Minnesota last night. I'm kind of off the Van Fleet train. I'm going to continue to pivot to Jalen Green. But yeah, I'm pretty much listing every guard here. But in the high end, I guess, who are your favorites?
I would say out of those, I like
No.
And probably SGA. I don't know. The Clippers have played really good defense, so it's kind of tough. But Harden is the Clippers, so I think probably Harden.
Yeah, and when you talk about floor, I mean, Harden does it all. Like, there's even games where he's going to have 10 real points and still get there just on assists and rebounds and steals and everything else. So, love Harden. With you on Maxi. And one team I guess we didn't talk about the injuries for, I'm just remembering now. And shouts out Boyle. I think he's the cover boy on this video today. We get pods for the Warriors. Just looking for their injury report. It's so long today. I got to scroll and scroll. I'm on the official NBA page. But no Curry, no Melton either. And you mentioned Wiggins is out too, right?
Yeah, Wiggins is out.
Yeah, so we'll continue position by position, but kind of getting into the mid-range guards, we could kind of kill two birds with one stone here because Pods is popping in the model, under-owned in my opinion. I'm shocked that he's not more popular on both sites. Really, the true point guard in this offense right now, only 6K on FanDuel, 5,800 over on DK, playing 32 to 34 minutes per game. We have him for 33. I trust him more than anyone else for Golden State. I absolutely love him. I'm going to be loading up on him here. He's going to be in all my high dollar single entry lineups.
Yeah, I like him too. He's one of the few guys for Golden State that can actually facilitate. He's just a guy that you could plug into your lineup and feel good about because he just does a little bit of everything.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, Kuminga and Kerr seem to have a funny relationship. Like, I don't know if he's going to stay a Warrior this entire season. If he starts, he's okay. Kind of low floor for his price. Buddy Hield has been interesting. I mean, when he's in and he's shooting the ball well, obviously has a very high ceiling. At the same time, all he does is score, so pretty low floor, likely coming off the bench. Is there anything else for Golden State here before we jump back into guards? And I will bring up Lindy Waters. I mean, if he starts again, he's another guy you can maybe use to pivot off Keon Ellis.
Yeah, I think Lindy's fine, and then Moses Moody. I don't love
Mm.
him on FanDuel, but on like the DK, is he on the? Is that on the main slate? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
on the DK main slate, I think he looks better on DK for sure.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. And again, they also have Melton out, who's a guy who kind of takes up some of those guard minutes. So definitely secures things for Moody. But yeah, let's continue with the guards. I think Pods is kind of my favorite in the mid range, but we'll sort by value. I mentioned Jalen Green. He's kind of closer to the top of price, but I mean, Westbrook on FanDuel is kind of a no-brainer. Shout out your call on Moody. He's way up there in value. Tyus Jones on FanDuel, I think, is fine. Um, I mean, what else is jumping off the page at me here? Not much. I mean, Christian Brown's going to see a little bit of a boost on FanDuel. Had that nice dunk over Gobert last night. And then I do want to ask you about Utah. And again, this is FanDuel only. Sorry for you DK guys. Maybe play the late slate. But with Clarkson out, I think George sees more minutes. I know Sexton has like something going on with his hand where he's not 100% either. But I think you have to like both those guards.
Yeah, George was someone I was high on last time when Markkinen was out, and I'm going to go right back there. I think he looks really good. He's under 6K on FanDuel, so it's pretty hard to beat
Mm.
that. And I don't think he'll come in with a whole lot of ownership either. And then Collins probably won't start, so it's kind of rough there. Filipowski, he probably starts again. He looks pretty good. I think he had a hot start and then he got in foul trouble, so I think he's in play.
Yeah. As far as Utah goes, I'm gonna keep going back to Collins just because he comes off the bench, and I know he doesn't play as many minutes as we usually want. But no one plays him because he's never in the starting lineup. And I mean, he's going over 30 fantasy points every night. But I guess just to stay on guards a little bit longer, anything else in this mid range? We talked about Garland. He's one I'm really heavy on. But other than that, I mean, I'm fine kind of eating chalk here. I think I'd rather get different kind of on the wings tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. There's not a whole lot that I really love.
Yeah, and honestly, Monk, he's tricky for me because with Herder out, he should see this huge boost. He's still coming off the bench though. He's very much scoring dependent. Like, I don't know. If this ownership continues to climb, maybe that's a spot I get a little bit away from. It's terrifying. He could certainly go off. It's a good matchup, but I don't know. For someone with such a wide range of outcomes, I'm a little bit concerned about the ownership on Monk.
Yeah. Um, I did find two more that I like that
Yeah.
I'll one's a value play and he's getting literally no ownership in the model. We have him for 23 minutes, but I think there is upside for more is Julian Strother just as a you don't even necessarily have to pivot off Westbrook. They could play minutes alongside each other, but I think he's a good cheap pivot to some plays. And then Scottie Pippen, if he's going to come in 2% owned, I have some interest there.
Yeah, I mean, if we do believe that Morant's going to continue to be capped around 30 minutes, the person who benefits most from that is Pippen, again, with Marcus Smart out as well. So good shout. I know he kind of had a floor game last time with all those guys out, but I don't know. It kind of felt like an outlier. So I'm totally fine going back there. I'll check chat just in a second as we transition into forwards. Again, just going to select both positions here. But yeah, let's see what we got going on in chat, guys. So some good questions here. Let's make sure I don't miss any. Okay, so Eli here. What's a good way to get different if you play large field single entries on a short slate with little value? I mean, what's your take on this?
That's kind of tough. You could change, like, let's see. I think play the value plays, play the chalk value, and get different with your higher priced or mid range plays.
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree. Like, I'd rather be wrong on chalk value than wrong on something expensive. And if you sort by OF index, you can kind of see the top plays in terms of raw point upside and their ownership. So, like, say we're not just looking at DK. So, like, DK main, sort by OF index. This is just forwards, but we can still use it for the example. Mobley only 11%. Like, that's a pretty good way to get different. The model likes him, under owned. Other guys, I mean, Oubre is pretty popular. If you want to go to Jalen Wells, it's not a crazy way to get a little different. But again, we'd rather eat chalk for value. Julius Randle, I mean, he's been playing better than I think public perception is maybe gathering to this point in the year. So fine going with him. But you could sort by OF index and then check the ownership projections and just make sure you have a few guys that are kind of close to single digits. And from there, you
Yeah.
can eat chalk. You don't have to go insane. You don't have to have all single digit owned guys. Like and something single entry that's even pretty large field, just 2 or 3 spots where you're kind of against the field. That's where your lineup's going to win or lose. So, what else we got here? We talked about the Toronto sack stack already. We like that. Sabonis or Maxi? That's Maxi for me, but I know you like Sabonis a lot. Do you agree or disagree? It's tough.
That is tough. I don't think you can go wrong with either. But I would say Maxi probably has a higher ceiling.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Hawk Dark here. Thoughts on Laravia? Absolutely love him. I hope he comes off the bench because I think that'll keep his ownership down. But I trust him more than Wells, at least right now. And yeah, he's been really solid. Courtney with the question: $7,500 power forward on FanDuel. Jaren Jackson. If not, I mean, you could go down to Aaron Gordon and maybe upgrade something. Do you have anyone else off the top of your head? I'm just kind of
Let me see. How much
half
did you
looking at
say?
them.
7,400?
75.
Oh,
I mean,
74.
that's the exact price of Jackson
Yeah, that's
as well.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackson's fine, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Or you could go all the way down to, like I said, Gordon's a good pivot, or Aldama, Sochan. Like those are the kind of 3 or 4 guys I really like. They're 1K cheaper though, so maybe use that 1K to upgrade something else. Kid Catastrophe. I mean, I agree with you. Garland's upside's always capped. Needs Donnie out to really get there. I mean, you're right, but at the same time, you got to remember he's only 6,600, and so if he can get you 40 plus fantasy points, I mean, that's the type of play that could end up optimal. And he did have that game against the Knicks a few nights ago. Josh Hart was on him. Hart was kind of sick. He got the 50, and Mitchell was in that game. So it's possible. And again, we're looking for. It's not always the most likely outcome with these guys. We're looking for the ceiling, and we know at 6,600, there's not many guys who can get you 50. Garland's one of them, and you don't necessarily need that much to get there. So you're not wrong, man. But at the same time, I mean, with Levert out and some of these other guys that take up usage, they could stagger them a little bit. You have a special request here from Van Negro Jones. Last man in, Fox or Mitchell. I'm imagining that's Donovan.
Fox.
Nice. I'm with it. Boyle shouts out pods. Love it. Lindy again from Mr. Don. And I'd say, yeah, I trust him more if he starts, but I don't know. Kerr seems to like him more than even Kuminga right now. And Kerr plays the guys he likes more than maybe any other coach. So I'm fine with it. We talked about Sabonis or Maxi. Danger's asking, where did we see Wiggins was out? That came up on the underdog feed, right?
I don't know if it came up there, but one of their beats, Adam Spolane, tweeted
Okay.
it out. He said Warriors have downgraded Andrew Wiggins to out. It was at 4:06, about
Okay.
an hour
So yeah,
ago.
one of the Warriors beat reporters at 4 Eastern said he was out. So, or maybe 5 Eastern. I don't know what time zone you're in.
Oh yeah, I'm in Central.
Nice, man. So we got Clint here, Bub, Keon, Strother. It's got to be Keon. Bub's been better than I thought he'd be, I will say, but I think I go with Keon.
Yeah, same.
So we get a lot of people saying Wiggins is fine. I think we maybe want to look into that, but
Yeah,
um,
let me double check.
yeah, if he's in, he's playable. I think his price is higher than it should be, though, and I'm still comfortable getting to the guards, especially pods.
Underdog's
Again, he's
just been really terrible this year.
yeah, it's weird. I wonder if they still have Justin
Wiggins is
Fan
also
behind.
listed as out on the front page of the game's notes, so I don't know what to tell you. So I guess there's like some conflict going on.
Okay, so yeah, hopefully that gets cleared up by the time the slate locks. But yeah, we're seeing reports from beat reporters, and some people are disagreeing. So we'll figure it out. Craig L with a pretty good question here, and then we could kind of transition. Actually, we're still in forwards, but we got to talk center soon. Um, keeps landing on Gobert. Thoughts on him tonight? I don't know.
Yeah,
Against, I don't love the matchup. I mean, he's kind of deferring usage to Edwards and others. I'm not crazy about him. I'm curious what his price is, but I don't know. Personally, I'm never too heavy on Gobert. 7,100. He's fine if you're landing on him, but again, he's not against Jokic. He's against Wemby, which isn't any better. 2 out of 3 games, 40 points though. Maybe I need to bite my tongue a little bit. If you're landing on him, man, I think it's fine. It's not someone I'm prioritizing at all. But again, we've seen him priced up to 8K. He's a little bit cheaper than that right now, so totally fine getting there. And Chris just said he posted cheat for the game. Wiggins is out. If you're in the Discord, we have verification of that, so check that out. If you're not in the Discord, check the links in the description below. Very cheap to get access to Occupy here and be part of the gang. And then, yeah, Craig saying Joker has 3 MVPs. Doesn't need Murray out. You're right, man. But when Joker was having like those 80 fantasy point games constantly, like every single day, 70, 80, 80, like those were with Murray out. So he could get there anyway. He's still one of the best plays on the slate. I guess the only argument you might have that he isn't is if you think Giannis is. I'll use this to transition over to forwards. Not a good matchup for him against Cleveland, but obviously we want Milwaukee in competitive games. That's what we're going to have here. I'm fine getting to Giannis on FanDuel. Again, I'm really, really prioritizing Joker, though. But in my lineups without him, I do imagine I get to some Giannis. Randall, again, I think people are kind of sour on him from his time with the Knicks, but he's actually been playing better than I think people expected. My favorite forwards tonight, though, are Sochan. Once again, I like Aldama. And then if we're getting word that Aaron Gordon's in, he's another one at his price I'll be pretty heavy on. Again, with Murray out, some extra usage. But who are your favorite forwards tonight? There's a lot to like.
Yeah, I'm with everything you said. The other one I do like, which we already kind of talked about earlier, is Evan Mobley. I'm pretty in on Mobley. And then I think Keegan Murray's a pretty decent GPP play.
Yeah, that's sneaky. Definitely has upside. Let's see here. Just kind of looking at ownerships. Yeah, we got to talk about RJ too. Obviously, in cash games, smaller entry. He's kind of a no-brainer. Again, with Quickly and Barnes out. We did just get a question about a forward from Joe G. DeMar DeRozan, will he go for 50 tonight? Yeah, so DeRozan's kind of scoring dependent. We haven't seen him spike that yet with Sacramento. I don't know that Herter is kind of creating that much usage for that to happen, but great matchup. And if you're someone who buys into narratives, I mean, a little bit of revenge here maybe. But how are you feeling about DeRozan tonight? Personally, I don't know if he gets to 50, but at his price, I mean, 40, 45-ish. I mean, you feel pretty good about him as a play, right?
Yeah. I haven't been playing him too much, but I think he's fine.
Yeah, in lineups especially where you don't have Sabonis or Fox. I mean, if you want one of that big three, I don't think you can really go wrong. Other forwards here. I don't know. I'm not crazy about it. I mean, it's funny. I just said this was my spot to pivot. I always liked Naz Reid. I mean, I have kind of an LSU bias. I didn't go there, but a bunch of my family did. Always been high on Naz Reid. He's kind of boomer bust. He's someone I'd kind of mix in, though. Totally fine getting to him. Maybe if Gobert gets in foul trouble or something like that against Wemby, he could really go off. But we've seen him spike a ceiling, just 5,200 on both sites. And I mentioned Tari Eason, and again, I'm going to keep beating this drum until he gets more minutes. Another LSU guy, so bias aside. But this guy's point per minute rate is just ridiculous, even coming off the bench. 25 fantasy points last time out in only 19 minutes. Game before that, played 22. The price has come up a little bit, but again, on a slate where we're kind of lacking value, I don't think it's crazy. I almost never would recommend a guy who isn't consistently over 25, 26 minutes, but on a slate we're kind of scraping for value. His price has come down. He was up in the 5K range for the beginning of the season. I think now that he's closer to 4K, he's someone I'll mix in. But any other value forwards? I mean, I feel like it would be nice to have some more value open up.
Yeah,
but
I think on FanDuel, Filipowski, he didn't really get it done last time, but I think he's still fine to go to. And let's see, I was looking at one other one. Well, Jalen Wales, you could play him at small forward. I think he's decent.
Yeah, I'm with it. Just to touch on Philly real quick, Caleb's super popular here. I get it as like a last man in. Hasn't really shown much of a ceiling. Pretty decent Florida's price though. And then same team, Oubre. Obviously, he's pretty inconsistent, but when he has his big game, 6,300 is too cheap for that upside. So fine with both of those guys. Not super bullish on either. Probably prefer Oubre of the two at their respective ownerships. Both around 20% owned on both sites though, so probably worth shutting them out. We got the room here going back and forth. Jason saying Houston saying Wiggins is out. Unicorn saying Wiggins is playing. We don't know yet. I think he's out. I think we have confirmation in Discord if you're in there. But again, we still got an hour or so to lock, so that could certainly change. But let's touch on centers real quick, and then we will build a dummy on DK and then get out of here. Um, let me make sure FanDuel's selected so we get Jokic. But yeah, looking at OF index, obviously Joker at the top. We talked about Sabonis. What's your take on Wemby right now? No one's playing him. Minutes haven't been consistent, but he did look pretty good last time up.
Yeah, I've been jamming him all season, and then he finally had a good game last time out, but he just hasn't been as aggressive. And I thought with Chris Paul coming in, I thought he would look a lot better because CP3 can set him up. And I think we're going to start seeing that soon. I think it's just taking some time. So I like going there, especially where he's under 5% on both sides.
Yeah, man. Whenever you get a player with that type of upside, like sub 10 or even 5%, like they're a good tournament player. So totally fine getting this some Wemby. Poeltl's chalky tonight. I get it. Again, Toronto really thin. I mean, Sacramento's a pretty decent team, but it's not like Sabonis is some huge presence in that front court defensively. Sengun, a little bit more inconsistent than I wanted him to be. I'm fine getting to him. And then on FanDuel, in that OKC Clippers game, I kind of like Holmgren and Zubac. I don't know that I get to either again because I'm so heavy on Jokic, but those are two names I think are worth a shout.
Yeah, I agree. Zubac has been really good. Not the best matchup going against OKC, but he's one of the few players that can score for them.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then one more to bring up is Andre Drummond. Again, Memphis kind of thin in that front court. He hasn't really spiked the ceilings that we've expected out of him, but as long as Embiid's out and he's sub 7K, he's someone you could consider. Um, is Lopez in tonight? Yeah, Lopez is in. No one's playing Lopez. Obviously not the best matchup, but if that front court's keying in on Giannis, in some of your non-Giannis lineups, I wouldn't mind mixing in a little bit of Brook. Aldama has center eligibility, but yeah, center, I don't know. Again, for such a big slate, I mean, there's only a handful I'm really interested in.
Yeah, the only other ones, it's pretty tough, but I think Kessler on FanDuel, I know it's against Jokic, but he's going to have to play the minutes, especially without Laurie out there. I like his upside a little bit more. And DeAndre Ayton in a revenge game. What do you think
Ooh.
about him?
I mean, they say when he tries, he's one of the best centers in the league, and he tends to try here against Phoenix. So I remember they played the opener, I think, right after the trade, and they asked Booker, like, oh, Aiton had this great game. He had like 2015 or something. And he's like, yeah, that was awesome. I wish he always played like that, which was pretty hilarious. So, yeah, definitely some narrative there as well. I mean, we talked about the DeRozan earlier. I mean, Aiton probably more vengeance in his heart than DeRozan does at this point. So that's a good shout. We keep getting these shouts for Dylan Brooks. I'll pull him up, man, and we'll talk about him because so many people are bringing him up. I mean, I imagine he's kind of like the last piece in for a lot of people. Again, you get guard and forward eligibility at 4,500. That has some appeal. I mean, he spiked the ceilings. He's capable. Not a bad matchup against Golden State. As a last guy in, I'm fine with it. I just can't say I'm like excited to ever get to him. There's games where he just completely disappears. And against Draymond, you always run the risk that he could get ejected. I mean, not that that's something you should really be weighing too heavily. But yeah, those guys like the butt heads.
Yeah, I think Brooks is fine. Looking, if you sort through DK value, he rates out in the middle of the pack, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen upside from him, so I'm fine with it, like you said. Um, Another one, we got to take Joker dollar for dollar from Wemby. I'm with you, Joe. That's where I'm at. But again, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, you got to differentiate a little. Joker's around 30% on FanDuel. Wemby's completely unknown. And if you find enough value, I think Wemby still has power forward eligibility. Probably tough to do tonight. Caleb Martin, small field. This is a FanDuel only. I think that game, said it's in Mexico City. They're playing at elevation. Or no, what am I saying? Martin's on
Yeah, he
the
got traded.
76ers now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, these twins keep trading teams, and I keep getting confused. But yeah, he's fine. Um, the thing is, he is very popular. So yeah, just make sure you're getting a little bit different with some other parts of your lineup. When we play Green and Sangoon against the Warriors, I would. You like those two?
yeah, no issues with that.
Here's an interesting one. Name I definitely didn't know that I'd be talking about today. But what are your thoughts on McCain here for the Raptors? Obviously, we're quickly out. No Barnes. I mean, they're looking for ball handlers. He did play well last time out. I'm trying to see if that was blowout. I mean, that was a close game against Detroit. Did get to close to 20 fantasy points, but um, wait, you said McCain for the Raptors?
Yeah, that
Is
I
there
don't
another McCain?
I don't think so.
McCain's on the Sixers, man. I'm confused. But yeah, maybe I'm. You're thinking of someone else. Just let me know. And Joe, Westbrook is not at all crazy talk. FanDuel only. Um, but check this out. We sort by FanDuel value. He's up there. I mean, he's one of the top 5 plays in terms of value. Actually, rating better than Keon Ellis in terms of value. Porter Jr. really climbing up though, and shouts out on your Filipowski call. Looks like he's kind of climbing up things as well. But yeah, man, I don't think you could go wrong with Westbrook. Again, you kind of have a safety net because he's only 5,100. Like he doesn't have to go off to really do well at that price. Um, and then yeah, McCain, MC. Let me know if you're thinking of someone else on Philly. I'm not crazy about it. Oh, Jacoby Walter. Okay, now we're talking. So yeah, again, no Quickly, no Barnes. They need ball handlers. He's playing 21 minutes, 22 minutes last time out, 16 fantasy points. Not someone who was on my radar. I'm curious what the model thinks of him. Yeah, we have him for 20 minutes. I don't think it's insane. Like if you're looking for a min-price play, again, maybe as a pivot off of Keon Ellis. Ellis is so much safer, but if you're eating a lot of chalk elsewhere, it's a super large field tournament play though. Like I want to be playing him in anything small field or single entry. It's really like a boom bust roll the dice type thing. But do you have any takes here on Walter?
No, I agree with you. I think he's someone that if you're playing all chalk and you want to throw him in instead of Ellis, then that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, this kid does have some upside, and again, with these other guys out, I don't think it's crazy, but I just don't know that we necessarily need him for value. But this whole video, I've been talking about how we need more value, so maybe you're onto something, man. And shouts out on that play. I'm going to look a little bit deeper into that after. Not a name I was really going to consider much today. Roger, I'd get to Jokic on FanDuel. I think you can do it, and you don't have to. You can still stay pretty balanced. Like if you only have Jokic as a pay up, use some of the Memphis value. Use Filipowski, Keon Ellis. Um, you're kind of getting there, and then you could play guys in the 6 to 7K range with them, and you don't have to go too far deep in the dumpster. Why Ellis, Prince? Good question. Kevin Herter's out tonight. He's already been kind of hitting value for his price, and he's going to get more minutes, likely to start next to Fox. And yeah, just a decent fantasy point per minute producer. If you want to get away from it, I don't think it's crazy, but at the same time, more increased opportunity for him tonight than almost any value play on the slate. Again, no Kevin Herter, guy who plays 33 to 36 minutes a night, definitely going to create some opportunities. So yeah, any other question, guys, feel free to get them in. We're going to do a quick build here, and then we'll get off the air. We do have Discord tonight. I'm guessing it's Jayhawk since you're on with me right now, Smitty.
Yep.
That'll start a half hour before lock. He'll take any last minute questions, let you guys know of any pivots. But yeah, where are we starting tonight? Do we start with Ellis?
Yeah, I think that's the right play.
I'm with you. What else are we thinking for chalk?
Let's see. Barrett.
I mean, I like Barrett. Let's check this out. I mean, I really like Laravia. He's not that popular, but
I'm fine with going there.
okay, let's throw him in. It's a bit of a hot take, but again, the opportunity's there for him. I don't know. Throw a couple names at me that you like. We can work around them.
Let's see.
Pods. Shut up, Boyle. You got Pods now.
Let's see. Aldama, maybe? Well, we got Laravia. They don't really eat it. Yeah.
I'm fine with both. And let's get Maxey so we can have the run back for all that Memphis. Yeah. I like that a lot. We're left with 67 per. We need forward, center, util. Mobley low owns. We
were both I like Mobley.
Yeah, and I mean Podol's going to be kind of chalk. Like if we don't want to get away from that, we could play him at the utility. Then we're left with 5,800 for small forward. We're looking at Keldon Johnson, Grady Dick, Caleb Martin. Maybe we don't go Podol to get a little different there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't love any of those options right there.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's fill small forward first, and if we fade Jakopoto, we fade Jakopoto. I mean, Wells is okay. I mean, the viewers want Dylan Brooks, I think. I mean, Barrett's kind of, if we're not going Poto, let's go Barrett, right? And then let's see what's down here at utility. You go Martin. I like Nazarid, kind of a tournament play. I mean, in cash, you'd probably go Caleb Martin, I guess, but I don't know. You could chase the upside with Bunker Reed, but that's a pretty decent start, I think. Jose with a question. Hey, Jose, one of our regulars here. I'd go Laravia over Brooks personally.
Yeah, I would too.
And then David Kelly says Wemby with Jokic on FanDuel with chalk cheapy. I mean, if you can make it fit, man, do it. Not many people are going to make that work tonight, especially because Wemby's solo owned, but it does seem like he's rounding into form. So yeah, guys, I think we're pretty much done for the day, but please like the video, subscribe to the channel. These videos are free. We want to keep making them. That's how we do it. And if you're not already a member, check out the links in the description below. You get access to the model you see here in the video. We also have a lineup builder, a Discord channel where we're always updating injury news, talking you through how to make those pivots. But yes, Smitty, any last words on this one before we go try to make that money?
No, I don't. Let's get it. It should be a fun slate.
Sounds good to me, man. Take care, everyone. Have a great night, and hope to see some screenshots.